Hello everyone and welcome to another great game from the Chess 960 tournament of the Champions Showdown. It's Alireza versus Jani Pomneši, and it's the placement of the pieces in this game is very similar to actual chess, and not right from move 1, but you'll see somewhere around move 10, move 11, you will probably not be able to differentiate this game from a normal game, as it's really what I'm trying to say is that players will get a fairly familiar position very early on, so I consider this to be an actual chess game. So let's dive straight into it. Alireza has the white pieces and he opens with c4, and Alireza is trailing by 1 point. Nepo is 4 out of 4 in this game. This is a game from round 5. Alireza is on 3 out of 4, so a win against Nepo would tie him for first place. So here we have c5, the English opening. I'm only kidding. Chess 960 does not have openings, at least not as of yet. It might have at some point in the future. Knight f3, we have knight f6, knight to g3, and now knight to g6. We have pawn to d4. Sorry about that. And here a very interesting decision from Nepo very early on in the game. He plays bishop captures on g3. Now usually you don't want to give up your bishop just like this, but he has a very concrete idea. H captures and pawn to d6. Now he puts all his pawns on dark squares, and he has a light square bishop to go in between those pawns. At some point he might even trade it off for Alireza's light square bishop, and then it's going to be just a normal game. So bishop to c3, and now c captures on d4. We have knight captures on d4 and bishop to d7. We have castles now, and there's nothing in between the rook and the king, and by the rules of chess 960 we are now allowed to castle. So castles, and now b3. I know this is very disturbing to some of you, but now look at this. It's only move 9, and we already have a completely normal position. The kings are castled, the bishops are slicing all the way to the king's side. Very normal position. So here we have e5, chasing away the knight, grabbing more space in the center, and also blocking the dark square bishop. We have knight back to f3, and now bishop to f5, offering a trade of light square bishops. We have rook to d1, and now rook to d8. We have bishop to b2, and now bishop captures on b1. So trading off one of Alireza's bishops. And here we have queen captures on b1, not rook captures on b1. Queen captures on b1 is a bit odd, as from c1 the queen has access to c3, but probably he wanted to have control over the f5 square, not to allow some queen to f5 infiltrating ideas. But queen can still come to g4, and that's exactly what Nepo plays. Queen g4, we have rook to e1 now, preparing to advance the pawn to e4, and h5 now. We have pawn to e4, the queen and the rook nicely defended, so probably that's why queen to b1, to also be able to cement this pawn on e4, and now have full control over the d5 square, leaving Nepo with the backwards d6 pawn. So here pawn to h4, knight captures, g captures, and queen captures on h4. We have queen to d3, and now knight to g4, putting pressure on the f2 pawn. So queen to f3, and now we have rook to f8. Preparing to blast the position open with f5. We have rook 8 to d1, attacking the d6 pawn, and now we have pawn to f5, not worrying about the d6 pawn. Queen to g3, offering a queen trade, and here Nepo trades. If you don't, then you're just going to be left with a weaker position. He captures on f5, and this one is weak for the rest of the game. So captures, we have f captures on g3, at least this way you get to double Alireza's pawns. F captures on e4, we have, rook captures on d6, rook to f2 now, gaining some activity here. Bishop captures on e5, and now rook captures on a2. We have rook captures on e4, knight captures on e5, rook captures on e5, and after this capture fest has been finished, it is now that the end game officially begins. And as you can see, it's 2 rooks each, but Alireza has 4 pawns, Nepo has 3 pawns, but Alireza has a double g pawn. So how can Nepo play this? Okay, Nepo plays rook to f8, and he says, I'm either getting a draw here, or I might even win this. If I can have my rook on f2, threaten the g2 pawn, I can never lose this. But Alireza finds an ingenious nice way of stopping this. He plays g4. And now you are, of course, wondering how is g4 preventing the idea of rook f2, rook captures on g2? Well, Alireza will demonstrate. We have rook f2, f2, and now rook to d8 with check. And now it doesn't matter if Nepo goes king to f7 or king to h7. He played king to f7 in the game, but if king h7, you just force the king to go the full circle. Rook h5 check, king g6, rook to d6 check, king to f7. And now we use this g4 pawn to deliver this rook f5 check and force a trade of rooks. That's how you do it. Captures, captures. Alireza will undouble his pawns, play g4, and he will continue pushing with his extra pawn. So Nepo goes king to f7, and he allows it right away. So rook to f5 with check. We have captures, captures, and pawn to b6. Now stopping the advancement of white's b and c pawn, and now pawn to g4. We have rook to b2, attacking the b3 pawn. And here a very, very important decision to be made for Alireza. Does he defend the b3 pawn? If he plays rook to d3 to defend the pawn, Nepo will play king f6, put a king on g5, and you can never win this position. So here Alireza decides to give up the b3 pawn and place pawn to g5. Now he gains full control over these squares, and although the material will be equal for the moment, he will be able to continue pushing for more than a draw, because he's down by a full point ahead of the leader Nepo. He wants to win this. Rook captures on b3, rook d7 check. We have king to f8, and now pawn to g6. Very, very important to stop this pawn here. And this setup will allow Alireza to go for some very, very nasty tricks like rook to f7 check. Then the king moves. The king will have to go this way to defend the pawn. Then you will be able to move the rook, threaten checkmate, and so on. So here rook a3, defending the a7 pawn, and now we have king to f2. Now Alireza starts bringing his king into the game as much as possible. For the moment he cannot cross the third rank, but Nepo has to play something. He plays rook a5, goes after the f5 pawn, but now rook f7 check, king g8, and king to e3 now. So what can Nepo play? He plays a6. At some point he wants to play b5 and create a pass pawn of his own, but now Alireza just plays king to d4. Also, instead of just advancing the king, the position now is completely winning for Alireza. There is the very interesting rook to b7, because now you're threatening to capture on b6, and also you're threatening checkmate as the pawn now covers f7 and h7. And even if rook captures on f5 to be able to stop checkmate, you don't care. Just king e4, and after rook somewhere, you have to be able to stop checkmate. Now rook captures on b6. And if a5, now there's even the idea of c5. And if rook to c8, just c6. If a4, just c7. There's no defense. Rook b8, and it's a game. If, of course, it's captured, then again, checkmate. Rook here, rook captures on c8, checkmate. So after this a6 move, we have king to d4 by Alireza, also perfectly fine. He's just preparing rook to b7, and now rook to c5 by Nepo. We have rook to b7 going after the pawn, and now king to f8, stopping checkmate this way. Rook captures on b6, and now rook captures on f5. We have rook captures on a6, and now rook to g5, attacking the g6 pawn and not allowing Alireza's king to go deeper into the position. And I was watching it at this point. I was watching it live while they were playing it, and the commentators were very, very interested how Alireza would proceed, because it doesn't seem like there's a way to push for more than a draw here. However, there is only one move that wins the game for Alireza. So feel free to pause the video here and try to find this incredible idea while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on being again a true master of the endgame. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook to e6. That's the good stuff. Yes, congratulations to everyone who found this. The point is, now that you see it, of course, the king cannot go to f7, and if the king reaches e7, then black will be able to defend this position. However, by playing rook to e6, you are now completely keeping the king out of this game, and of course, it was in this position on move 42 that Jan Nepomniachtchi resigned the game, and Alireza equalized after round 5, so 4 points for each of them. Now, the thing is, Alireza was very, very low on time for the major part of this game. I think at the end of the at the end of the game. I can even check. I don't want to trick you guys. Like at the time he resigned, Nepo had 7.5 minutes. Alireza had 11 seconds. And okay, you do get a 5 seconds increment after you make a move, but still, there was no way to continue this. And of course, Nepo knew that those 5 seconds increment is more than enough for Alireza to win this. But for those of you who are interested, I will show why it's so overwhelming. Basically because c5, c6, c7, and c8, this is unstoppable. The king it's basically like black's playing without a king. So you can play something, you can move the rook a little bit, but just c5. And after, let's say, rook to c1, just king d5, rook d1 check. You're going to play king to c6, now rook c1, king to d6, and after rook to d1 check, now king c7, after rook to c1, you advance the pawn to a defended square, rook to d1, you're gonna play king to b8, and after rook to b1 check, of course, king to c8, rook to c1, now the pawn comes to c7, and that's pretty much it. Rook d1, let's say king b7, rook to b1 check, and now you will be able to block check with the rook, and that's it. Black will have to give up the rook for the newly promoted queen, captures, and now okay, black will have a few more moves, but you are getting checkmated. Let's say king e7, king to c7, you don't have anywhere to go, king f8, king d7, and once the king moves, just rook to b8, checkmate. You don't have to like capture the pawn and promote this pawn to a queen. It is over very quickly. So of course, Nepo knew Alireza was more than capable of doing this, and he just resigned in this position. So yeah, very nicely done. I will still not show the standings. I'm going to show one more game, and then we're going to discuss the standings, as it's also a very important one for the standings. So we're going to, talk about it then. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, the position very, very early on starts resembling normal chess, and basically this is just a normal rapid chess game. So yeah, I would like to thank Paul Sertanovic, Jose Palacio, Filippo Palacio, Isu Papa in Panama, and Matthew Garner and Luke Longbone for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Champions Showdown until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.